Hi there, this is Mrs. Kate, and I am going to talk for a little bit about how to write a Terza Rima poem. This is the rhyme scheme, and well, the meter isn't really part of a Terza Rima poem in the way that there always has to be one sort of meter. We're going to see that, so we're actually not going to deal with meter very much today. Dante was writing in Italian, and it was a sort of iambic pentameter, and it's often translated that way, but because it is a more complicated rhyme scheme, that's what we're going to be focusing on, partially because the meter is not necessarily part of it. So I'm going to show you real quick the rhyme scheme that has to be part of Terza Rima for it to be itself. So I want you to look down here. Let's look at the words at the end of the lines, because in this poem, it's not always this way as a matter of fact, but in this poem, it is the words at the end of the lines that matter. So let's circle those. Upon, wood, gone, rude, breath, blood, death, convey, therewith. Okay, so I want to show you here which ones rhyme. Let's read down. We have upon, wood, gone. Well, in this one, those two, and that one's kind of the odd man out. Let's look down here. Rude, breath, blood. Well, these two don't exactly, but they definitely are the ones that go together. Down at the bottom, death, convey, therewith. Again, not an exact match, and that's okay with poetry, but it's those. So what we're seeing is we're seeing the first and the last of these 3-line poems. Remember, terza means 3, rima, so rhyme of 3s, okay? So the first and the third line always match, but there's actually something else going on here as well. I want you to look up here. So we're going to label these the A rhyme, okay? So this one is A, that one is A. Those two rhyme. This middle one we're going to label B, all right? Now let's go down to this next one here. Here on B is wood. Now let's look here. Wood and rude actually rhyme at the same here. Blood. Breath does not. So what we're doing is we label these B. So these two here match with this one up here. It's an interlocking rhyme scheme. All in 3s. See, each one of these is going to have 3 words, except for the A's, I guess. So we have B's there. Now let's look here. Breath, death, therewith. These are all C's. And then this is going to be the D, which as he carries on, we are going to, we're going to see the D, E, D. Right there. Okay, so as he carries on, he's going to keep going that way, and then oftentimes he won't go all the way to the end of the alphabet before he starts again. He will, he'll just get to the end of whatever his line of poetry, and then he'll stop. Now, I want you to look at this one now. This is a Robert Frost poem. I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to mark it, okay? I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street. But not to call me back or say goodbye, and further still at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. Now this is a beautiful Terza Rima poem, and it shows you one of the things that this type of rhyme scheme does is it keeps you moving on. It's always connected to the next verse, so you have to keep reading until the end. Now I want you to look down here, and we'll look at the rhyme in just a minute, but I want you to look down here. This is actually only 2 lines. Proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. This is a couplet. Remember talking about couplets? A couplet is just like a couple. It's 2 of something. So where before we've been doing a terza rima, a rhyme of 3s, we now finish with a couplet. And oftentimes Dante will do the same thing. So I believe this is actually a heroic couplet, so it would be an iambic pentameter, and it also rhymes. So instead of switching the rhyme out where we have the one line in the middle that doesn't rhyme, here we have a rhyming heroic couplet. And it also connects it to the beginning. This is the point of this poetry very much, is that we have a repetition. It's a circular poem. It's constantly rolling like a wave. So let's go back here. Let's see our rhyme just one more time to make sure. So we have night, rain, light. Those are our A's. So we're going to expect to see things that rhyme with rain in the next one. Lane, explain. B's. The C is a beat, so we're going to have feet and street. Middle one is going, so those are both C's. And then we have our D. D is cry, goodbye, sky. This is our E. And we actually have, even though this starts out as an A, it is also our E, so we could label that either A or E. We have height, right, night. Okay? So all of it interlocks and weaves. All right, so what I would like you to do is I would like you to write a Terza Rima poem like Dante. It can be much shorter, obviously. You're not going to spend 20 years writing it. So it can be as many many stanzas as you would like it to be, as long as it's long enough to get this interlocking rhyme. It does not matter what rhythm you do it in. It can be iambic pentameter. It can be anything that you want it to be. It can actually be unmetered if you would prefer that. Usually our poems fall into a certain meter, even if it's just a spoken meter that mimics our voices. But what I want you to do is I want you to write a short poem with Terza Rima rhyme scheme. Okay. Finished. So those are the three. So obviously we have to have the threes in order to make this work, and then I want it to be finished with a rhymed couplet. Remember what that is. That's the 2 lines, just as in the poem up here. This is his couplet. Proclaim the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. Those don't have a middle line that is not rhymed. Okay? So I want you to look at that one last time. We have our Terza Rima, which is the poem of threes with that interlocking rhyme scheme. And then we have the couplet at the end, which finishes up with our first rhyme. You can do that if you want to. You don't have to make it that complicated if you don't want to. All right, let me know if you have any questions.